Hello and welcome to the Last Word on Spurs. We are, of course, your multi-award winning Tottenham Hotspur podcast. We are 9 days to go in this summer transfer window. It's time to get that checkbook out and start spending and stop divvying as we close in, of course, on the very end of it. And with Man City just around the corner, helping me on this show, 3 great returning guests. You know their faces. You see them wherever we go. I've gone and snapped up the best 2 looking ones from the Spurs 5. I've got Johnny and Lubo with us here. And I've got the wonderful Luke over at Spotlight on Spurs. As we like to say, look ahead to Man City, cover all the latest moves and non-moves in this transfer window. Let's bring in the panel, see how they are. Firstly, quick hellos. We've got a lot to discuss. Johnny, how are you, mate? Love to see you back alongside us.
All good. Great to be here. And chat, Ricky's on time.
Unbelievable. They won't agree. One man I've got to be on time for. It's Lubo. Lubo, how are you, mate? Love to be back alongside us.
Yeah, all good today. Thanks. Feel a bit
Lovely.
better. Looking forward to the match tomorrow.
Absolutely. Like I say, you guys will be there. And also back on the show twice in a week. It must mean that debut was a stormer. It was. Luke's back from Spotlight on Spurs. Luke, how are you? Love to see you back alongside us.
Cheers. Thank you very much for having me back on. I've had a couple of days to kind of simmer down now, and let's see how we go.
Simmer down. We'll just get started. We've got 9 days of this left. We've got to get going, not simmer down, Luke. Listen, let's give you an overview of what we understand to be Tottenham's latest or attempted latest moves in this transfer window. As of course, we built up to Man City, and also some really interesting quotes from Thomas Frank. And for those that have missed those quotes from Thomas Frank, first words he did say in his press conference, which I think a lot of us will have agreement with, to be very, very clear, I don't want any players that don't want to come to this football club. I want them to wear this fantastic badge. And for those that don't want to be here, we don't want them. Big words from Thomas Frank. And we understand Spurs, of course, on the eve of play in Man City, are targeting one of their players in Savinho. And we do understand at the moment, City are currently blocking that move. But a bid worth close to believe the £70 million mark would be enough to maybe see Man City change their stance. We know Spurs have had new contacts over this last 24 hours with Man City. And we know despite City pushing to keep the player, Spurs are insistent. They want to get this deal done and believe he would be the perfect signing. Thomas Frank, we understand, is in love with the player. He's driving this move. And for Tottenham, it's a player that would give them obviously another option up top. So one to keep an eye on. We have heard reports in this last 24 hours, Tottenham have increased their offer for the player, but it's still led to believe nowhere near the enough amount for City to consider selling. We know the players' agents are expected to be at the Etihad on Saturday to discuss his potential move after the game. It's described as difficult, complicated, and we understand someone at the very top of City's hierarchy in Ferran Serrano is one of the key men that may end up being pivotal if Tottenham can get this deal over the line. He is reportedly seen as the blocker. Also, we're going to be discussing the future of Wilson Odobert. There is reports out in Italy that potentially he could make a move there before the end of this summer transfer window. Could that happen? Tottenham are, you maybe say, overstocked in the winger department. You maybe say they've not got the quality there. And quite interestingly, Thomas Frank, when asked about his wingers, did not name check Wilson Odobert in that press. So you have to ask, was that coincidence? Was it a misstep? We'll see. We've also got an update for you on Nico Paz. We know he's one of 2 10s that Tottenham are looking at during this transfer window. Of course, with Halush being another key target of Tottenham's. Can they get both? Will they sign one? We'll see. But got to get the guys' reaction firstly to that Thomas Frank presser where, again, maybe saying the words we want to hear, Johnny. It's not been an easy week, of course, after missing out on Eberici Eze. And the opening words, that presser was very, very clear. We only want players that want to come to the football club, wear this fantastic badge. Your reaction, because it is a big 9 days left of the window for Tottenham where we've got a lot still to do, Johnny.
Well, I would say that any player that doesn't want to come to Spurs won't sign for Spurs. Maybe. I mean, I'm not quite sure what that really means, to be truthful. Look, if a player don't want to come to Spurs, he ain't signing, so he's not coming. But listen, it sounds good. It's a nice soundbite. Listen, I'm a huge fan of Thomas Frank. I love the way he handles the press. I love the way he talks about everything, to be honest with you. He's just a class act. And I think really, as time goes on, he's going to be the guy to slowly build this club back to where it should be. I think the conversations, the hands-on approach to all the players, the arm round some of the players, the kick up the backside for others, Basuma, and, you know, individual approach, individual progression and management. And I think he will know, him with Cochrane, exactly where to go with each of these individuals. But we need signings. You can drop up if you like. We all know it. You know, no one's walking around with a head buried in the sand. We need a Savinho. We need a 10. In fact, I believe we needed a 10 when we had Madison and Kulu. Desperately need one now. For me, it's a Paqueta because he's the guy who can deliver right off the bat. And as you said, back of house, Paz, great talent at Como, but what responsibility to come at his age and drive the whole team on his own. And our boy at Monaco, same thing. Older, 3 years older, 23. Basically, we should be looking at him just to sign him just for that hairdo. That signing on its own. But look, Spurs, we've got to stop with the chat now. We need action. There's 10 days to go. Time's running out.
9 for the listeners on audio. They make their way up to the Etihad, but listening to this, it is 9.
9.
But it's 10 right now. 10 right now. 9 on the way there.
I just think that, you know, it's going to be very difficult for the board to deliver something which grabs the imagination like Eberici Eze is. And let's be honest, I think it's probably the first signing. We were talking about Eze being the one signing that unites this whole fan base for the first time in many, many years. And now we're united in sort of grief and embarrassment that the deal didn't go through. So it's a hard one to recover from this position. Over to you, Bald. Out with the checkbook, out with the money. Go do your stuff. Johan Lang, get out of Denmark, come back, start doing your job.
Well, listen, as you say this, Johnny, your ears must be burning. We are getting breaking news coming through to us here that Tottenham are looking to up their offer for Savinho. That's according to friend of the show, Fabrizio Romano, who is stating Tottenham are preparing to bid more than 70 million for Savinho. As we said earlier in the show, we expect those talks to accelerate after the game against Man City, of course, and how this does turn up. So listen, we'll see on that. That breaking news again. Tottenham are preparing to bid more than 70 million for Savinho. If we get any more news on that, we will bring it to you. I mean, quite interesting there, Johnny, coming on to you, Luba, on this point that Johnny was saying there about the frustration so far this window. Thomas Frank was actually asked about that frustration so far of missing out of 2 high-profile key individuals, you might have said, to Tottenham's way they want to play in terms of Eberici Eze, Morgan Gibbs-White. Frank said, look, in general, of course, you know, I don't speak about individual players, but there's been a lot of players being linked to this club so far throughout the summer. There must be someone out there that's putting these links out there for fun. But look, I still think there'll be a lot more links between now and the end of the window. But he made it very, very clear. He doesn't want players that don't want to come to the football club. He wants players that are going to play for the badge, play for the club, and really enjoy it. If they don't want to be coming to Tottenham, he doesn't want them here. And he thinks that is the key message. He also followed up and said, from his perspective, he doesn't care where these players are coming from. Doesn't care if they're going to be coming from Spain, Denmark, Brazil. He just wants them to be the perfect player that are going to come to the football club and make that difference. Lubo, for you, difficult week, frustrating week, but 9 days to somehow rescue this window and give Thomas Frank the best opportunity to fight on all 4 fronts.
I think so. I think the only thing you can do, you have an upset in any situation, you put it behind you. You can't fix something that's already happened, but you can deal with what's current and what's going forward, and you can make a difference. So for me, you forget about Eze, you move on. Right, we got 9 days. Who are we going to get? We need a 10. We need an 11. They're the 2 biggest key positions. My feeling is, you mentioned about Odobert. If Odobert is on the way out, then maybe Dibbling's on the way in, because I think if one goes out, one comes in. I think that will probably also help on the homegrown players. I think he's been at Southampton for 3 years, I believe. So that would be one extra place listed on the Champions League squad. I just think they've got to pull their finger out and they've got to get some deals done. And it's now a question. It doesn't matter whether if you're buying a player or because of the constraints time wise, you get players out, you get players in on loan. You just do a quick loan deal. If the player's right for the club, you get him in for a year, maybe with an option or an obligation, but get it done. Stop messing about and just get it done, because this squad we've got, he's a coach. He's not a magician. He'll take us up to mid-table.
Yep.
But I don't think he's going to take us any higher. So
there's
still time. Go out and get the loan. Go and get players on loan. Maybe you end up with 3 or 4 players if you buy and loan. But he's got to get it. He's got to get it sorted.
Is he even worth 70 million though, guys? Really? I mean,
Savinho?
Does it matter? Johnny, does it matter?
No,
does it actually matter?
Hang on a second, right? It matters if our budget
is going to be affected by that. Yeah, it's going to be affected by that.
By that, because 70 million plus for me is a panic, right? Because the fantastic talent.
Yeah, but you have to remember, I think, obviously, with Savinho, they were in for Savinho and they were in for Eze. So you think on that basis, there should still be money left over there.
Yeah.
There should be money still left over.
And Hincapie.
And Hincapie, yeah. But I think what we understand, I think on that centre-back now situation, from what we're gauging, despite having appreciation from a lot of clubs, Hincapie, it doesn't look like he's going to be moving during this window. It does appear now Tottenham have kind of pivoted and now got all priority now being on sorting that number 10 position out. And it does appear a winger being also the priority. I want to bring Luke if I can. Luke, lovely to have you back alongside us here. Quite interestingly, Frank was actually asked that question in his presser as to whether he feels that he's been let down so far in this window. And he said, no. I think I say to my players, if they work very hard, do everything they can, I can't ask anything more from them. I know the club are working extremely hard, and it's unfortunate that you can't go into Waitrose and buy 2 good players and then walk away 5 minutes later. It's a little bit more complicated than that. I see a club that is working very, very hard. I see Daniel Levy that is working very, very hard. I see Vinay Venkatesham that is working very, very hard. I know Johan is too. We are all on board in terms of doing what we can to improve this football club. As I keep on saying, Luke, it's 9 days to go. The pressure is on because now it does feel the club do need to bring in players that are going to directly impact the first team and give, like I say, Thomas Frank the best possible chance of fighting on what the board have said, not what the fans have said, on all 4 fronts. How big is these next 9 days, Luke, to give Thomas Frank that squad?
Yeah, it's absolutely massive. And you split it into 2 in terms of has he been let down. In terms of the quality of player we've brought in so far, no, he hasn't, because we've brought in 2 players that immediately improved that first 11. However, we need more than that. And we signed one player that improved our 11 or went straight into our 11 last year. So we was already playing catch up. And then we've only signed 2 this year. So in terms of the level, I'm happy with the level that we're signing players, but he needs more. And there's a glaring space in that forward attacking areas, particularly the 10 and the left winger as well. And in regards to the quotes that have come out about Spurs and we want players that want to play for us, the last manager said exactly the same thing. It's all words. Spurs need to put themselves in a situation where players want to come to this club, and at the moment, that's obviously not the case. When you're fighting against the top teams, that's going to prove difficult. If we get better and we improve and we sign some of these players that we're linked to and we get them over the line, then we start playing Champions League so regularly, then you become more of an attractive place to come. So it's all right saying it. But you can't just, you need to go and now prove that you want to become that club that everybody wants to come to, not just players that are at lower level clubs.
Yep, great. Lou, you want to come back in now? I can see you itching to come back in. Were you going to say something there?
No, yeah, just to see what have we spent
advancing.
Edging, yeah, we've spent 65 million in this transfer window.
Yeah,
which includes Palhinha's £5 million loan.
Yep.
Arsenal spent well over 200.
Yeah.
Bordering on 300. Liverpool spent 300. City has spent 200. Chelsea, God knows what they've spent, 2 billion. I don't know, but and we've spent nets after Son and Keeley, we're netting 44 million. So, and we're meant to be a big club. We're the 7th richest club in the world. So if he costs 70 million, he costs 70 million. You know, if you want to buy a house that much, and the house is a little bit more than what you want to pay, but you want it that much, you find the extra money and you buy the house.
Yeah, you do. Listen, on that point, he has been asked, Frank, about the profile of players that he's looking to sign this summer. And Frank said on that point, and just how important those next 9 days are when it comes to the calibre of players Tottenham do want to sign. He said, look, we are full on in the market and we'll look to see if we can strengthen the team. That's the main bit, and that is what we're focusing on. We need to have some good processes, really to work hard to see if we can strengthen. But I've said it again here, I believe I've got a very good squad. We've got good players. I see 23 committed players working very, very hard, working hard on the game plan for Man City, and that's what I'm excited about. He was asked if he has a message for Tottenham fans, and he said, I think, as I said, a couple of things. I'll say it again. This club is working very, very hard to strengthen the squad, and we only want to strengthen the squad with players that we believe are good enough and can improve this squad. So that's what we've been doing from the beginning, and that is what we'll continue to do. He did say, Frank, and I know this has maybe concerned some fans, he's confident Spurs will sign a player before the window closes, not players, a player. He says, we're in the market. Again, I'll keep on suggesting this. We are looking to strengthen the squad, but it is my job to ensure this team can compete on all levels. Every club wants to sign their players as early as possible, but it's not easy. I'm a positive guy. I'm not that fearful. I believe something will happen. But would that be a concern, Johnny, for fans when you're hearing suggestions he's committing to a player, or do you think he's just keeping his cards close to his chest, Johnny, for you?
I got told off for highlighting. He said the word "a player."
That's what he said. That's what he said.
Exactly. And that is not music to our ears. One player will not appease the fan base. Absolutely. Bring in Savinho. Absolutely delighted. Will that appease the fan base? Absolutely not. Because we all know that we need a 10. Unless he thinks he's going to put Savinho in the 10, even if he did that, it would still mean that we would need someone on the left-hand side. So, no, we need 2 players as a minimum. We know that we were going to sign Morgan Gibbs-White and or Eze and a left winger. So we do need the 2. And don't forget, let's be honest, that Paulinho was a loan deal. So there's money. We need to get the jobs done. Frank has said, he will only sanction players that he wants. Look, he likes a physical player. No two ways about it. He wants physicality. He wants guys that will listen. And he wants intelligent players that understand one way to play a game. And if it's not working, that he's going to change the tactics and understand what's required of him. And I wonder whether that's the reason why Brennan Johnson wasn't in the game against PSG, because he's maybe not tactically astute enough as some of the other players. He needs to step up to the plate, by the way, and offer more. And I think Frank will demand it. And I don't think Johnson offers that physicality at the moment. Take players on, be brave, get brought down. And so I believe that we desperately need a 10. I don't think we can get away with one player. I certainly won't accept one player. Yeah, it's got to be a Paz, a Paqueta, or a Canuche at Monaco, and a left-sided player. And if it's not, him, it's got to be Lookman, because he's the only other quality left-sided player who can score goals and offers us something. We won't be fed. Look, if we have to Google anyone that's coming in, the fan base is going to go into meltdown. No more Danny Rose. And El Canuche, for me, great highlight reel. If you want to make some YouTube videos, absolutely fantastic. But his game at this present stage, for me, is not at its stage where he can walk into this club and deliver right from the off.
Yep. Listen, it's going to be interesting to see what the club do. Frank did say on whether the squad was asked whether the squad is any stronger before the window has opened. And he said from his perspective, look, you can say that it's 2 players in, 2 players out. So probably I'd say it's similar. But I also think I said in my first press conference, I think we've got a good squad here. I think it's some really talented players. I think it's some quality here to probably the same level. But I think that's good. It's up to me, together with the players and the staff, to ensure that we can compete. And then I said what we want to do to strengthen it. He was asked about the concern about leaving business so late. He said, look, I think in general, every club wants to sign their players as early as possible. I don't think anyone would want to do that differently. If that was that easy, then everyone would do it. I'm a positive guy. I'm not that fearful that it makes sense, but I believe something will happen. So look, we are going to squeeze in our first break of the show for our listeners that are on audio. We've just got over about 7,500 of you that are watching this show live on our X or on Instagram or on Facebook and Twitch. Thank you ever so much for all your incredible support for Last Word on Spurs. I'm joined by the best looking duo from the Spurs 5. We pre-selected them subject to vetting, which was given in advance. I'm joined by Johnny and Lubin, and of course, Johnny, part of the Spurs 5, Football Inc. as well. They're covering all things football. He gets an opportunity to talk about non-football, or non-Tottenham, should I say, actual football, no Spurs. We're joined by Luke over at Spotlight on Spurs. Please give him a like and a subscribe. Please keep liking and subscribing to Last Word on Spurs. Push us out to a wide range Spurs audience. It's not just been a week of players we're trying to bring in. We've also lock some of them down. Not quite literally. We should lock some of them down, but we didn't. One we have locked down to a new term deal coming over to you, Luke, is, of course, Christian Romero. New 4.5-year contract for him. Frank says, I'm very, very pleased. That was a fantastic signal from the club. And, of course, with Christian, he believes in his club. He believes in the project and believes in the journey we're just starting. I was extremely happy with that. And I also think the understanding is, and the exciting thing is to him, we're only just getting going. And the crucial thing from here is to keep on bringing top players to this club. He is one of our top ones. He's our captain. So I think even more so, it was a big statement. So there's big words there from Frank on, of course, Christian Romero, Luke. And I'm sure like him as well, he'll be looking very, very keenly eyed on between now and the end of the window to make sure Spurs bringing that quality. But how important was that, Luke, on reflection? You were seeing we signed him nearly a week on now. I'm sure like him and more will be wanting to see these signings come through the door, right?
Yeah, 100%. When you look at all of the big clubs, the serious clubs, they keep all their best players. And when Romero's on it, he's one of our best players for sure. The key to this is keeping him fit. That is the bottom line. If we can keep him fit, we've got a top centre back there. I think that the structure that will be put in place, he'll be available more, which means that his inconsistency should become he should become more consistent. But it's literally keeping him fit. He needs to stay fit. He needs to play the majority of games. That centre back pairing is so pivotal to any team being successful. So if we can keep him fit, and as I say, if you're a new signing coming in, if you're losing Romero, for instance, you're sitting there going, well, what direction does the club want to go? He's one of their best players. He was part of the leadership team. He was part of the captaincy. They need to be keeping him. So it's a good sign for the club, but we need to now kick on. So good start. He needs to be more available, and I think it will be a good sign for future signings.
Yeah, indeed. Talk about signings. One player that has been linked away from the club, if I can come over to you, Lubo, quite an interesting one. Then we go about Richarlison, is that of Wilson Odobert. We are hearing suggestions out of Italy that he's being targeted as part of a late deal in this window with AS Roma, who are attempting to sign the forward. Now, Spurs want to start negotiations for his sale over a fee of around 25 million euros. It wasn't Tottenham's real intention to sell Odobert this month, but from our understanding, Roma have come in unexpectedly, surprisingly, suggesting they would like to sign the player. There are suggestions it could be a loan fee and an option to buy. Obviously, he's enjoyed quite a disjointed time so far at Spurs, with pick up a couple of injuries on the back of arriving under Ange Postecoglou. Just a 9 Premier League start so far. Quite interesting, Lubo, I said he wasn't name-checked by Frank in his presser, or certainly in the part of the first start of the presser wasn't name-checked. Would you be massively surprised, Lubo, to see Odobert leave before the end of the month?
No, I don't think I'll be surprised. He's not quite full. You know, he has been injured, but he hasn't got going at the club, has he, in the year that he's been with us? He scored those 2 goals, was it, against Alkmaar, I think? Scored one against West Ham. Hasn't really set the place alight. He's young, and the problem is we need leaders, we need established players.
Yep.
And if that money goes towards bringing in a top left winger, then I'm all for it.
It's interesting, Luke. I think you was on the other side of the spectrum. We had this conversation in the back end there. Am I right in saying, Luke, you'd be opposed to it and you'd like to keep him from what you've seen? Or what's your thinking of
It's easy to say, yeah, we should get rid. Like, after we all do this, yeah, get rid of him and bring him in. But are we actually going to bring X in? I think Odobert's got I think he's a good player. I think he will develop. I think he's got certain characteristics in terms of his ability to be able to go on both sides. But it's one of them. Do I think he'll go? Can I see someone come in and bid in the amount they want that we would want for him, for instance? No, but it depends on what the offer is. I mean, you could probably say there's a lot of players in our squad where if someone said, I tell you what, we will give you what you paid, there's probably a lot where you go, oh, okay, yeah, we'll take that. But then are we then going to go elsewhere? So we sell Odobert. Do we bring in Savinho?
Yeah,
it's all about. I'm not so sure anymore. It's easy saying. There's a lot of people that said, let's get rid of Romero. Let's get rid of him. He's not going to sign a contract. Who are you bringing in? So I think that's always the part of it, is that it's all right getting rid of these players, but are others going to come through the door? And sometimes I'm not so sure.
Yeah, I want to pivot to Richarlison, Johnny, to come over to you, but I need to also ask you about Odobert, your take on that, because again, quite interesting, I keep on saying, people might not like me saying it, wasn't name-checked by Thomas Frank in that earlier part of the presser. Is there something more sinister that we don't know? We'll have to see, but your opinion on Wilson Odobert, would you be massively surprised if he does depart between now and his next 9 days? Your gauge on that?
I would definitely not be getting rid of him. We paid 29 million euros for him. So why would we be selling him for £20 million? It makes no sense to me.
Could he do a loan, maybe, Johnny? Do you think he could?
Well, maybe on a loan. Maybe on a loan, but no, with no option to buy. He's 20 years of age. He's come through the Paris Saint-Germain Academy. He's a France under-21 international and a good young international at that. He's 20 years of age. I mean, what do people want? You know, we're talking about sending our 21-year-olds out on loan. They can't even get in the first team. And people are picking holes in a guy. I mean, what did he score? 2 goals in 1 game, wasn't it, in Europa League? You know, people say he's small. Shall I list all the small players that have played for Manchester City that have been absolutely sensational? Go and look them up. Some begin at the end with the word silver. Look, it's about talent, and I'm not writing him off at 20 years of age. If you want to sell, there are other players to sell. Go and get Basuma. He's probably at home now, popping a balloon. Go and get him out. And on the ones that are periphery. Listen, I wouldn't be surprised if with 1 day to go or 2 days to go, we don't hear Thomas Frank say, you know what? I've been watching training and I've been really, really impressed with Manor Solomon. And what we've decided to do is to not buy a left back, a left winger after all. And we bought buying a 10. Look, nothing surprises me what could go on. But I can't see Odobert. I really cannot see Odobert. I think if anyone needs a loan out, it's Matthias Tell.
Okay. Which I think, I mean, based on the fact we've just paid 40 million for him, and I know the feeling around Matthias Tell, I think you have to say it's massively unlikely Tottenham would, you think at this stage, sanction a loan. Johnny, look, we're going to stick you for a second. We'll ask you about Richarlison. Thomas Frank says he's my number 9. You know, he's really thrown his weight behind Richarlison in this last 24 hours. He was asked about, obviously, the fact there were suggestions, there were murmurs, really, that he was maybe being part of a deal, you know, as part of this package to get Eberechi Eza over the line, which I know didn't happen. He said, look, right now, he's my 9. He scored 2 fantastic goals for us. He's had 2 top games. He's the Brazilian number 9. He's a very good player, so I'm very happy with him. Richie wants to stay. I want to keep him. There's been no talks about anything else. He's done well for us. I mean, you can't get more of a ringing endorsement than that, Johnny. He's going to stay. Your thoughts on that news about Richarlison?
Yeah, look, all the people who were saying he's been offered is just rubbish. It's just because Eze and Richarlison come from the same agency, same agents. Therefore, they put 1 and 1 together and came up with 5. Look, Spurs fans, he owes Spurs fans. You know, I'm not going to sit here and defend Richie over the last 3 years because it just has not happened. But prior to that, you know, I think he ran up nearly 100 games on the trot without being injured. The Olympics, playing for Everton. This version we're seeing of Richie is months of dire training, watching every single aspect of his fitness. And we're seeing, for the first time, I believe, the true Richarlison. He has to keep fit. He has to keep fit. But we saw just how good he was in that night in Bilbao. We saw how strong his performance was against PSG. And everyone talks about the 2 goals he scored, and rightly so. But his involvement in the third, where he won the ball in the middle of the park to set up us for the third goal, shouldn't be left out of proceedings. We need 2 strikers battling for position. And I think the best thing for Solanke is a fit Richarlison. And the best thing for Richarlison is a fit Solanke. And for this club, long may it continue. Let's hope he manages to find the net on the weekend and stay fit, because he's going to love it. If it was me, I think I'd be more inclined to play Richarlison in the Champions League and maybe Solanke in the Premier League. That would be my turn up.
Yeah. I think the only concern with it is that we've had injury concerns with them both over the last 18 months. And, we're coming on to that fact. We do know Spurs do need to strengthen in that window. What's quite interesting is, Lubo, he was asked about the creativity at the moment in his side. He said, I think we've just played the first game. We've scored 3 goals. So I thought that was pretty promising. We've got Kudus, who is seen as the spark of the team, I believe. We've got Matisse Tell that can play in a slightly different number of positions. Dom, Richie score goals. Brennan's our deep runner. Frank's insistent they've got variations. But as we keep on saying, before we come on to City in general, Lubo, we do know we need more, right? We're going to need more if we're going to really compete on all 4 fronts. And that turnaround from Premier League to Champions League and vice versa with cup competitions as well, we're going to need some variation in our wingers. Is that fair, you think, Lubo?
Yeah, definitely. I think, Frank gets answered these questions. He's going to spin the positive, isn't he?
Cool.
He's not going to say...
He's not going to tell us how he really feels. Yeah.
Sure. He will know that we need 2 10s. I mean, he did ask for 2 10s, didn't he?
Well, it's been reported this week. This is what's being suggested, that he has requested 2 10s before the end of the window, and that was before the news broke that Eberechi would not be coming to Tottenham. So the intention has been 2 10s. When they get 2 10s, I'll let you answer it, Lubo. Is that realistic between now and the next 9 days?
Jesus.
No, he's not one of them.
Doubtful. If you can get... No, we don't want Jesus, do we?
We need someone on crosses.
God help us. Could be a long next 9 days if these are the targets lined up.
What would I do? I would go and buy a 10. And if there's any way of unlocking Donnelly's loan, I'd bring Donnelly back.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think we know it's, from what we're gauging, that's not obviously, it wouldn't, I mean, listen, I think we had this conversation at the time. I think it's funny because I'm obviously really good friends with John over at Lily White Rose, and John was adamant that Jamie Donnelly really wanted to go out on loan because he was of the mindset that he needs that first team football. He needs to be playing regularly. And I think for him, I think it's a big season for him, Lou, but I think if Jamie Donnelly can go and get a good season under his belt of regular football, he will feel confident coming back to pre-season next season, if Frank's still here, because you've got to say that with Tottenham, you never know what they can do, of having a good opportunity. But I think it's going to be really telling, in terms of what we've got to come these next 8-9 days about who we can bring to the club. If I can just bring you in, Luke, we are having an update of a report with regards to Nico Paz. And again, this is a constantly changing situation in the window. So we would imagine, look, by the time the show goes out, it might have very well changed because it's the transfer window. Anything can happen at any time. We understand, according to a source in, I believe this is going to be in Spain, they're suggesting that Tottenham have not yet entered into formal negotiations for Nico Paz, nor have they made any bid for the midfielder. They have submitted an inquiry, and they've been absolutely told he's not for sale. And I think the thing around this player is that some might be a little bit concerned about is that Real Madrid do have a buyback clause. They can re-sign the Argentine for just €9 million in 2026 and €10 million in 2027 as part of the deal they've struck with Como. Now, look, it must also, as they put it out there, Sergio Reguilon also had a buyback clause. We never had to really worry about that because of the level and the ability of what Reguilon showed us in the end. But do you have reservations, Luke, of going after players with buyback clauses? But again, it would mean they're doing well for us. What's your take on that for you?
No, I think it's firstly, I just think it's incredibly difficult to get him out of there. Como are the richest club in Italy. They've got an exciting project. From what I hear, it's a fantastic place to live. He's obviously settled there. He's been there a year. He seems to be a bit of a star boy for him. So there's a lot to then just upheave and come to Spurs. So that's one thing. And then also we're going down the whole. He's young. He's not the most experienced. I.e., he's not someone who's played 100 like Premier League. Professional games, that sort of thing. So again, it's just so much pressure to come in and effectively anyone that comes in that's an attacker now, other than Savinho probably, is going to be the Eze replacement. And that's how fans are going to look at it. They're going to be comparing him immediately to an Eze, and that's going to be very difficult for him. So I think at the end of the day, if top clubs are not interested in your players, then they're obviously not delivering. So that's part of the course, unfortunately. Same thing, Savinho. If we manage to get him over the line and he has 2 standout years, Real Madrid are going to come sniffing, whether there's a buyback clause or there isn't. That worry about that later sort of thing. Obviously, you want to make sure you hold your best players. But again, if you go to a good level and you're competing year on year, then maybe players would be happy to stay at Spurs. So, yeah, I'd say I think he's a good player, but for me, that's a player that comes in alongside. So if you're signing 2, he comes in. And I think the problem is we've got so many of them where they're almost not backups. I don't think that's fair, but you've got your starting Kudus, for instance, he's your starter. We've got so many that would be a good option off the bench, say. We need to start signing players that are actually going to come in and immediately improve. And I think Paz comes top player, will become even better, obviously, but I still think there's some doubts around it or some time needed for him to be able to become what he will become.
Quick question to everybody before we do look ahead to City. Johnny, we'll do like a yes or no on this, or maybe a 1 or 2. How many players do you think Spurs are going to sign between now and the end of the window? And what positions, if they do, can you see them actually tying up at the moment with 9 days to go?
We must do 2, but we need 3. 1, I think they're reading the fan base. They know that the whole fan base will implode if they bring 1 player in, even if that's Savinho. I'm sorry, I think that would be the case. Maybe a Nathan Collins. We need a 10, a left winger, and a centre back.
Do you see that 10 coming from either Akalush or Paz? Will it be one of those, or do you think there will be a surprise name in these next 9 days? There's always a surprise, isn't there, between the end of the, those final few days of the window. You're offered players through agents and intermediaries. Certain players are chucked about that haven't even been mentioned throughout the past 50, 60 days. I mean, do you think it will be a bit of a surprise that we don't expect?
Well, I'm hoping that the Don pops up with a couple of magic players. Who can forget what he delivered to Antonio Conte?
Yeah.
Right to death, bringing in Bentancur and Kulu, and fans were going, who? Bloody hell, another Tottenham, another couple of bargain bucket buys, typical Levy. And look who they've go on to become. I'm a massive fan of Bentancur. He seems to be getting back to the player that we saw before his injury. So I'm hopeful that someone will come in. Whoever it is, there's going to be huge expectations.
Yeah, there is going to be huge expectations. Lubo, same question to you. What do you think they will do between now and those next 9 days? Will they be able to bring in a couple? Will they be genuine quality? Gut feeling?
Christ. Gut feeling? Maybe 1 or 2, no more. I've lost confidence in them, to be honest. With what's happening
with Eze and Gibbs White.
That's right. I just don't trust them to. Look at the way Chelsea go and do their business. They go in, quick, bang, close the deal. What do you need? Look how Arsenal closed it with Eze. I'm sure there were talks. I'm sure half of it was put to bed weeks before Arsenal sort of dipped off the scene. But we just fight about everything, and it just kills it. So for me, unless they bring someone else in to get these deals over the line.
What? You mean an experienced negotiator that can close deals? Yes, definitely somebody that can close deals. Someone that reads the room, someone that understands where we are as a club, what we need, how little time there is left in this window.
Alan Sugar.
I think he's busy filming the next series of The Apprentice. Luke, let's bring you in on that. I mean, do you share Lubo's maybe less optimism that we are gonna really have a good crack at the end of the window. I mean, because Frank, to be fair, look, we have to say this again. We know Frank's a coach, right? So from Frank's perspective, he is what he's got from what he's got from Brentford to Tottenham already is an upgrade, you know. And the fact of the matter is, he's seen his former club absolutely torn to pieces throughout the summer, really. So he's probably looking at the Scotland screen thinking, I've got some good players here. You know, I've got players that I do think are good. Again, that would be my only reservation where he does feel we can get more out of this group than maybe what Ange Postecoglou got out of this group. I think we all agree this group is not 17th place level, but I think also we can't kid ourselves. This group does need significant improvement if it is to try and get back to the levels of where it needs to be. I know people weren't maybe happy with some managers that have been used throughout a number of the journalist shows throughout the summer. A lot of the journalists have come on here, Luke, and suggested Tottenham right now should not be maybe looking at Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea, City, United. They actually should be looking at just getting above Villa, Brighton, Bournemouth. You know, I know that's not the most attractive way of looking at it, Newcastle, but for Tottenham to get back up that elite club, those level of clubs, we are going to have to get above the likes of the Villas, the Newcastles, the Brightons, right? Just as a starting point. Is that fair, Luke?
Yeah, 100%. And we can talk about targets and who we need to go and sign, etc., etc. But the facts is that what's he been told? Has he been told that we need to be fighting for a top 6? Has he been told top 8? Because if the target is to get some sort of European football, let's say, because that will be an upgrade on what we had last year in the league, then how many players do we actually need? Whereas I think we're all looking at it as fans going, well, we want to compete as high as possible. So therefore we need, because as Johnny said, we need 3. I'd argue we need probably 5 or 6, but we're not going to get 5 or 6 is the first thing. And then also it's, well, we can't 5 or 6.
We can't even sell a player. I don't get 5 or 6.
But those 5 or 6 is for us to get to the top 6 and to really be battling. So it depends on where we want to go with this. Where do we think this squad is good enough and what the targets are? I agree. I think that we need some defensive cover at left centre back / left back. I don't think we've got enough numbers there. I think we still need a central midfielder that's a bit more forward thinking, because I think at the moment some of them are either young or they're better off in a partnership and maybe being the more defensive one. And then a left winger, a cam. You could also argue again a striker. You could. There's so many different places. I think we'll get 2 over the line. But I don't think they're going to be Kudus level. I think we'll get one that's of a good level, and there'll be another one that is kind of like, you're kind of like, he's a bit of a squad filler sort of thing. I don't think it's going to be two top players.
Okay, well, look, we are going to squeeze in our final break of the show for our listeners and audio. Before we do, again, that news that we have heard, that's according to Fabrizio Romano, that Tottenham are going to be submitting to Manchester City an improved bid for Savinho. That is our understanding. It will be a bid that may tempt Man City into selling the player. And for those that are unaware, we understand that negotiations for the player are going to continue after Tottenham's trip to the Etihad, where our understanding is Savinho's agents will be there in person to talk with both Tottenham and the player about what comes next. We have got nearly over 9.5, nearly 10,000 of you that are watching this show live. Thank you ever so much for your incredible support. For Last Word on Spurs, I'm joined by Johnny. I'm joined by Lubin from the Spurs 5. I'm joined by Luke over at Spotlight on Spurs. Of course, Johnny, also part of Football Link. Make sure you go and give that a like and subscribe. A reminder, guys, out there for you, if you're not aware already, that we're delighted on Last Word on Spurs to be sponsored by, of course, Saily. Saily, they're great for those at the moment that are on their international travels, if they're away from home. If you are looking to save, cost save really on your data when you are abroad, if you put Saily in from your app store, that allows you as an eSIM to be able to get the best out of the coverage of being able to go away, use the internet and not be put through extortionate prices. You can get that right now by going to your app, by also hitting that QR code where Last One is supposed to give you an exclusive 15% off your first purchase. Make sure you go and check them out, of course, Saily. Now, look, during this audio break, you would have heard there also from one of the chaps over at the City Ramble. Obviously, Man City are coming to town. It's always an interesting game up at the Etihad. We know it's never an easy place to go. Obviously, Pep Guardiola's side, they've started the season in absolutely formidable form. Thomas Frank, as we know, has got some decent results up against City. He said, I don't think there's a go-to system or a go-to approach. They're saying that we're working hard on with our principles. The main thing is we need to go there and be brave. We need to have enough spells on the ball where we control the phase 1 and 2, and that will be a big area for us. I think that as a team, they've been exceptional barring the last year or so. We know the level they can get to. But look, they've definitely been very good in the market in terms of the summer. They'll know what's expected of them. But I hope for us, the key 2 words I want us to be is brave and aggressive. We'll come to you, Lubin, to start this off. Man City, never an easy place to go. You are there today for our listeners and audio. So make sure you go and say hello to Lubo if you haven't already. And he's giving you a nice little picture. Lubo, thoughts, of course, on the game itself. Gauging, what do you think? How difficult will it be up at the Etihad?
I think we'll give a good account of ourselves, having seen the first 2 games, first competitive games of the season over the past 9 days. I'm confident we won't go up there and get battered. City have started off very, very well. I know it was just Wolves, but they do look very good, very quickly. You know, they got into their stride straight off. And I think we'll end up losing. I think it's too soon in the Frank under Thomas Frank to go up there and seriously think about winning. I don't even think, could we nick a draw? I doubt it. I just think they had too much for us. I don't think the squad's strong enough. I think the first 11, I think he'll play probably a 3-5-1-1 again, with Kudus behind Richie, and he'll bring Danso in.
Do you think that, Lubo? Do you think it will give him massive confidence that he's gone there with a Brentford side and he's won twice? Where, with all due respect, we've been very clear, we've been frank on this show, pardon the pun. We know Spurs need to do business, but the squad he has got to take up there has got some really, really good players. Do you think he might think to himself, if I can adopt the system, we can go up there and get a result? Because that's what he seems to be suggesting.
But you look at he had some great results last season against the top 6.
He did. Yep, he did.
That was his 7th season joining the team. He's been there 7 weeks.
Yep.
So it's a big difference. And we've got a good squad.
Yep.
I say it's a good squad. It's not an exceptional squad. It's not a very good squad. We've got some very good players in, and some not so good players, unfortunately. So for me, I think we'll go down, but we'll go down fighting.
Okay. Well, listen, we'll come on to that later in terms of predictions, but coming over to you if I can, Luke. In terms of what he said about City, he said, look, they're one of the big 3 contenders for the title. We know they are a fantastic team. And to get a result there, it's going to have to be a good performance. We just want to build on momentum and the bits we have. We're fully confident we believe we can get a result. That's what we're playing for, to be brave, but also to be extremely respectful of Man City. He was asked about the system he will adopt, and he said that I do treat every game different when asked if he will use the same system as what he used in Paris or against Paris Saint-Germain. He said, but it's definitely in my mind, maybe 3-5-2. It's also definitely in my mind 4-2-3-1. So I'll take on decisions, and what we'll do in, you'll see how I'm going to set up. We may tweak those principles, but then, of course, the system can give us something. Principles are the most important thing. So, yeah, it might be an element that I might be pragmatic, but I will use different systems and different ways to win football matches. He did confirm, in terms of team news, Luke, before I bring you back in there, that Destiny Doggy is better. He's trained with a team twice, full training, but this game is too soon for him. He also went on to say that Biss will also miss the game, so no Yves Bissouma, maybe not a surprise to some, as this window does draw to a close. And he also confirmed that Dejan Kulusevski remains out. And again, for those that have missed that news in the earlier part of the week, we understand Dejan Kulusevski is going to be out until the turn of the year, which is why there's such an emphasis on Tottenham looking to bring in a number 10 between now and the end of the window. And that's before he went down, of course, injured along with Maddison. Rodri and Phil Foden back available. How tough is this game going to be, Luke, to go there and get a result?
Yeah, 100%. They've obviously revamped their squad. People are talking about how they've revamped their squad over the summer, completely forgetting they also done it in January. Like you mentioned it earlier about them having a poor season. They finished 3rd. Like this is a top class squad of players. Reinders looks like he's come in. He looks like he's played here for years. Again, top player. So it will be difficult. Obviously, as you said, he has gone there before. But he's had a squad and a team of players that are moulded into his way of thinking, and as Lubo said, the team have not got that as of yet. But you always have to be positive. You can't go into it negatively. I'm sure he's not that type of character. He might set up slightly differently. In terms of the players that are unavailable defensively, Udoggy, I mean, Spence for me, he's probably been our best player in this season and pre-season. He's been superb. So he wouldn't have probably started anyway. But for me, again, it just shows that if we do go to 5 at the back and we're playing the 2 up top, it's about whether there's enough cutting edge up there, and then if the substitutions come in, whether they can come on and make an impact. Which I think when we had the changes at PSG, there was a drop off in quality, unfortunately. Now that could have been down to fitness, etc. But he'll definitely be going there, and every single team has little areas where you can attack them. You can try. You need to have. Hopefully, you need to have it so that you do well and they have a bit of a off day. But we've got a good record against them. There is a little bit of that there as well. Frank's done well against them, so there'll be a good feeling. It'll just be whether we just have to play to a good level, and then we have to hope that they're off it a little bit as well.
We have to. I think that's so key. I think if we're going to go there and get a result, we're going to be at our maximum, and they are going to have a little bit of an off day. Johnny, just to bring you in, quite interestingly, obviously Guardiola's been speaking about his own side in terms of what they're feeling. He's reiterated that his squad is not healthy, and it will be difficult to sustain the vibe of the team if it is not trimmed in the remaining days of the transfer window. I mean, City have picked up from when they've left off the back of last season. They've accumulated more points than any other top-flight team since the start of April. They are also the only ever-present team to remain unbeaten, boasting more clean sheets, having faced the fewest shots per game of any side in the division. We know Man City's record against Tottenham recently does leave a lot to be desired. They've only won 4 of their last 12 meetings against Spurs, drawing 2, losing 6. Meanwhile, Guardiola, he's lost 9 times against Spurs across all comps in his managerial career. Only has he lost more to Liverpool. We have been a bogey team from up there. Do you have a belief? I know you're going to be up there. You're leaving very, very early in the morning for the game itself, and you're going to be there. I know also you wouldn't be going up there if you don't believe we can win. So can we get a result up there? Thomas Frank believes we can.
Listen, if I didn't believe, that we could get a result at the Etihad, I wouldn't be going for sure.
Yep.
Look, they absolutely demolished Wolves. Rangers was fantastic. Ryan Cherky came on, scored another goal. El Nouri looks like he's settled in already. They got Ake and Akanji, who look like they're going to be going out the club or looking to get out the club. But the worry for me is one player and one player only. How fit is Rodri? I'm hoping
he's available, isn't he? He's available along with Phil Foden, which is quite interesting.
Available. He's just come back to training this week. He's not going to risk him.
Yep.
He wants him there for the whole season. I'm hoping he's just for a bit of fancy fluffing and dressing on the bench there, and he doesn't come on. Same with Phil Foden. I think the biggest question for me about the Spurs team, I don't think there's any doubt whatsoever he'll go 5-3-1-1. But the question is, for the majority of pre-season and for the game against PSG, Papa Matar was the spear of the midfield, the furthest forward. But against Burnley, he switched it to Lucas Bergvall. So I'm going to be interesting to see. I mean, obviously, he's trying to see who can play in that position. Should they not sign a 10? The one thing I know from watching Thomas Frank all these years is just when I think I know what he's going to do, he does something different. And that's what I want from my coach. If it isn't going right, he's not going to be like Ange and just continue in the same vein with the same system. He will try to change it. And that's what I was referring to earlier about intelligent players that when he says, right, we're going to change it up, we're going to do X, Y, and Z, we're going to play in a different way. And this is what I want. This is what I've noticed. This is what I want you to do. You see, he's out with a clipboard, even at a break. He's trying to show players. I haven't seen a clipboard in a long time. Not
maybe AVB days, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking of just getting a clipboard myself, just to sort of feel part of it. I think that we have to be positive. I understand what Lubo is saying.
Yep.
He's only had 7 weeks,
yep.
But who thought that we would even be performing the way we did against PSG? I just think we're coming into, as Luke said, I think a Manchester City team that has found the right blend. And unfortunately, that monster up front, Haaland, looks like he's back on point. So I think it's going to be an interesting a standoff there between Cuti Romero's shithousery and Mickey van der Ven's pace, which he's going to need.
Yeah,
he's going to need every bit of it.
Two busy boys.
Yeah,
they could be two busy boys. We also know with City, just so everyone is aware, in terms of team news going into this one, they are also without Mateo Kovacic, Calvin Phillips, Savinho still out, Josko Guardiola also out, and Marcus Bettinelli also. But we do understand Rodri, Phil Foden, and Ederson are all ready to return, with the latter pushing to replace the fellow shot stopper James Trafford, who did keep a clean sheet, like Johnny mentioned, up against Wolves last week in that win. The absence of Guardiola is set to see Ryan Aït-Nouri continue at left back, and John Stones is expected to retain his starting spot in central defence alongside Ruben Diaz. You know what? I think, again, we spoke about City and what they can offer. I mean, should Reindeer's been given that license to roam forward, going to be tough. Foden also a player on his day that can obviously dictate games. But you know what? Again, it's interesting. I do feel that Tottenham, they can go there and give this a go. You know, I think it's one of those games where I know it's difficult. I know last season we went up there and absolutely pumped them, obviously by quite a sizable scoreline. So many might use that as a comparison. But, you know, we have got a favourable record there. I don't think there's anything to fear. Let's get some predictions before I do close on a couple of questions I want to ask the guys. Lubo, let's start with you. You seem quite pessimistic when we were talking before about it. How do you see this working out?
I think City 2 late goals, 3-1.
Okay. John, what are you going to go for?
Well, it's a shame we're not playing Man City at Christmas, because Rangers will no doubt go missing at Christmas time. But
that's what you pay the entrance fee for. That's what they download it for.
I'm going to go for a Desmond. I just, you know, I'm going to go for a Desmond. It's maybe the heart ruling the head, but I'm going to go for a 2-2.
Yeah. Luke, prediction, what are you going for?
Sorry, guys. I'm going 2-1 City, but part of that is mainly because I think that the players off the bench need to make a real impact. If they do that, then I think that we could. Johnny might be onto something, but that needs to happen. The players coming off the bench need to make a real impact, and I think that's key to it, especially in these sorts of games.
Well, we were heavily criticised last season when giving predictions that we weren't being more realistic. So maybe this has balanced that out. Maybe we are trying to be more realistic. We know it's a tough game, but I think with Tottenham, you never quite know in terms of what Tottenham's going to turn up. But I think, you know, people will go there with confidence in Frank that, you know, with his adaptability, and I know some might not like this, an element of pragmatism, which I don't really mind. I think you have got to have an element of pragmatism in any game you go into. I do want to see Spurs also be brave at times. I think what I did quite like about his press conference, this one, I think the Thomas Frank in this press conference, and what I've heard so far, is a man that is just getting in to feeling what being a Tottenham manager is like. You know, there wasn't that situation last week where he suggested expectations were different between facing PSG to facing, of course, Burnley. It seems to be a man that actually has got genuine belief we can go into any game and get a result. Quite interestingly, just to close it, guys, question to you all. I was about to say Ange there. I don't know why. Stuck in the mind. But Thomas Frank was asked, despite the long-term injuries he has with Maddison, Kulusevski and Son, I'll come to you on this one if I can, Lubo. Does he think if Tottenham don't sign anybody between now and the close of the window, is the club well equipped to be competitive in the Premier League and the Champions League? Frank said, I think it's a good question. Of course, we need to do everything we can to make sure we are as competitive as possible. I think we've got 6 good front players. I think this is very competitive. And across all comps, we're going in. And then you've got Decky who will come back in the season. I think that's a big thing. It's probably more longer term with Maddison, unfortunately. But I am pretty confident, and I will say this again, we will sign a player before the end of the window. What do you make of that, Lubo?
I think we're short in numbers. I mean, we've got 6.
I know you don't mean it like this. I know we've got about 40 at the moment, but I know you don't mean we're short in terms of we've got enough. We're trying to get them out, but I know you mean quality-wise of players we need. We're short in numbers.
I mean, he's talking about 23. We've got 6 injured, and we've got 13 out on loan. I think there's 11 out on loan.
Yep.
We are short of the necessary quality to challenge for Europe and make a fist of it in the Champions League. Even if you talk about last 16, last 8, I don't see it at the moment. I think we've gained 2 in. The 2 we've got in, Polina and Kudus, are excellent. think they're two great purchase stroke loan, but we've lost Maddison and Son. So we filled 2 positions and we've lost 2 positions. So we've got no creativity at 10 without Maddison. And, you know, there's nobody, I think, at the moment that you can see at left wing that's going to do the job and do it as well. And we need somebody of the same level as Kudus on the other side of the pitch. If we get Savinho, fantastic. Then you've got a good front 3.
Yep, I agree on that point.
We desperately need it.
Agreed. It's funny that you brought it out there because exactly where Frank actually went to next on that point. He was asked, Luke, come around to you, that around the fact that in terms of numbers, you've had 2 faces in terms of Kudus and Polina, but then you've lost Son. Maddison is out. Is the squad any real stronger than what it was, the one you've inherited? He said, look, you could say that's 2 players in, 2 players out, so it's pretty similar. I think I said it in my first press conference. There's some really talented players here. There's some genuine quality here. It is up to me. It is up to the coaching staff that I've got to get the absolute best out of the players like Bergvall, for example, Archie Gray. And it's down to our coaching staff to make sure we've got this squad ready and capable of going to that next level. How do you read that quote for you, Luke, on that point?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it as a whole and you expect him to get better levels in the league, this is from last year for sure. But the thing for me was that he was clearly going to come in and make us better defensively. And then we've brought in Polina, who's going to make us better defensively anyway as well. So it's almost like you've strengthened the position you was going to be stronger in regardless. Last year, although we scored a lot of goals, a lot of people were saying we weren't good enough in attack. And we've actually lost the 2 people that were bringing in big numbers in that. So for me, it was the attacking third that we really needed these changes, because naturally Frank was going to make us better defensively regardless. I'm not saying we didn't need a 6. I'm not saying that at all. But I feel like if we'd brought in 2 top class wingers or 2 top class forwards, then we might be sitting there going, actually, we're in a better position. But because we've lost so many goals and assists, I feel like at the moment it's kind of it's about the same, really. I completely agree. I think the level of player is higher. However, as I said, the level of player in Kudus, then you've lost all them goals, assists, and we're not even adding Kulu into that. If Kulu's out for half the season, we need someone that's going to get goals and assists. So I think if we badly need a forward player, and what Lubo said as well about Kudus, I think we need another one if we get a player better on the left-hand side, it also frees Kudus up a little bit, because at the moment, probably what's going to happen tomorrow is City are just going to go all over Kudus, get all around him, and then their creative outlets are going to be more and more difficult to be able to create. Whereas if you've got 2 of them, it means defending against them's a bit more difficult.
Yeah, I do agree. Johnny, we're going to come to you to close if we can. He was asked around the fact of ideally every manager would like players in early, as already been asked of him in that presser. And he said, look, from his perspective, I'm not fearful. If it makes sense, we are going to make those moves in the latter part of the window. He was also asked on tour, you mentioned there's a natural process of the recruitment side of you getting to know better the people that you're working with. That was streamlining. And at Brentford, you suggested it's where you was at in terms of having that understanding of what everybody does. He said here, I think it's an ongoing process. That isn't every day and every week in how we do things, how we understand each other. But to be honest, it's not to expect it perfect in 8 weeks is not realistic. But we are definitely getting closer. And I think to be fair, they're going to need to get a lot closer, because we've got 8-9 days this window left, and it better be bloody good to make sure we get those players in, right?
Look, I think people just have to give Thomas Frank some time. Yep. I mean, look, let's be honest, right? If Ange Postecoglou was here right now and he'd lost Son and he'd lost Maddison and he'd lost Kulu, he'd go, well, mate, it is what it is. But, I can only concentrate on one tournament, and this is why I've lost 22 games. It would not be good enough, right? And we know that. It's just not good enough. That squad is not good enough, even allowing for the fact you've added Kudus and Paulinho. We've lost Maddison, we've lost Kulu, and we've lost Son. Listen, I'm all for bringing in like on a loan as well. I mean, Marcus Asensio, he still hasn't been taken. He's the type of guy you could bring in on loan for a season to use in Champions League games, because he has that Champions League experience. He knows where the goal is. And even I'd be happy with that, if we supplemented it with a couple of, proper signings. With someone of his experience to put alongside. But we can't leave Thomas Frank short. I am worried that this fan base, because of Ange finishing with a trophy at the end of the season, that as soon as there's a defeat, and there will be defeats and there will be bumps along the road on the journey of him learning and teaching him his ethos and how he wants to play, that the fans have to be behind him. I'm worried how long they will be behind him if the results don't go his way. Because let's be honest, other than the first 10 games of Ange's first season, the rest was pretty abysmal after that in the Premier League. So I'm going to give him time. I think he's the guy that can get us. As he said, it all starts with a great defence. And quite honestly, I think when you look at Cuti Romero and you look at Mickey van der Ven and you look at Pedro Porro and you look at Jed Spence and Destiny, there's no reason why we can't have and rekindle that defence that we had with Jan and Toby. Yeah.
Great. Look, it's going to be a crucial next 8-9 days for Tottenham. But we've got a crucial game coming up. Man City away. Can Thomas Frank go to the Etihad and repeat the trick, repeat the magic that he showed on the last couple of occasions? Guys, thank you so much. Over nearly 10,500 of you that are watching the show live. I want to say thank you so much to the boys over at the Spurs 5. The best looking duo, Johnny and Lubo. Thank you so much. Thank you to Luke, of course, over at Spotlight on Spurs. Please go and make sure you check these guys out. Please, like I say, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe button to these respective gentlemen. And, of course, the last one of Spurs. And, of course, Football Link. From us all here, keep safe, keep well. We're back with you after City. As always, keep safe. And come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.